talking about a big game. A game where you are going to be the monsters and the stupid villagers are just trying to disturb your peace and quiet. How can you not be killing them? I don't know. And that is going to be village attacks. Like I said, in this game you will be the monsters that are going to defend their castle from all these stupid little puny villagers with their stupid towns heroes, and you are going to be victorious. I'm first going to show you how it works, and then I will talk about if I had any fun killing all those villagers. In village attacks, your goal is to complete the objective that is specified in the scenario that you are going to play, and make sure that the villagers are not going to destroy your castle hard by attacking it as many times as it says in the scenario. Before you're going to play, you are going to be picking one of the scenarios that is in the rulebook, and on the scenario it's going to tell you what kind of special rules there are, and also how the layout is going to be of that scenario and how you are going to win that certain scenario. Let's look at the player board in a little bit more detail. You can see here the name of the monster you are going to play, here what kind of monster you are going to play, how many hit points it has, and how much XP it has to get to upgrade one of his powers. Furthermore, you will see that there are 3 different powers that every monster will have, and every monster starts with a basic power that he or she already has from the beginning. Besides that, every hero has some slots where they can store their dice when they did not use that die in that round. At the beginning of every round, you are going to be checking for every spawn point that you have. A spawn point looks like this. You are going to check what kind of villager is going to spawn. You have 3 kind of villagers. You have the normal villagers, you have the hunters, and you have the town hero. Those are unique, the last ones. And for the town hero, if that comes up, the card looks like this. You are going to be drawing one of the town heroes, and you are going to be taking the specific miniature for that town hero. I put down some tiles which do not correlate with any scenario at all, just to show you how the game is going to work. So the game is going to go in the same phases. First, before everyone is going to do their monster phase, you are going to put down villagers onto the field, of course, otherwise at the beginning you have nothing to fight against, and then everyone is going to do their turn. You are going to throw all of the dice, and depending on what you threw, you are going to be able to do more or less things with them. The first thing that I'm just going to show you guys is this symbol. This is the symbol with which the villagers are going to attack you. So it's the bad stuff symbol. For everyone that you have thrown, the villagers are going to move up 1 space to the castle heart, starting with the one that's farthest away from the castle heart. These ones you can also use for nothing else. So you are just going to put them aside when you have thrown them and when you have done everything that you had to do. This is the melee symbol. With this you can attack another village. You can attack a villager that is on your space. Then we have, of course, the ranged attack. With the ranged attack, you can attack a villager that is on a different space. So I could, as an example, first melee this one and then attack that one. All the villagers are only going to have 1 hit point. We have the peasants, which are the melee attackers in the game, and you have the hunters. These are the ranged attackers, and the hunters are always going to be hunting for a certain character, for a certain monster. To see what they're going to be hunting for when you spawn them, you are going to be taking a token out of the bag, and every color corresponds with a monster, and that those set of hunters are going to be following the monster token that you drew, and this is going to be indicated by putting a base onto those hunters. The implications of the preference is going to be that they are going to have a preference for that type of monster, and they are going to do more damage to that monster than to the other monster types. Other symbols that we have is the magic symbol. With the magic symbol, you can heal or use spells. Not all of the characters can do that, but if you have this, then you can, with this one, can do those magic things. Then we have the retaliate. This one you can put on your defense, on one of your defense slots. And if a villager would attack you, you are going to retaliate and do his or her attack back against them. This is the defense die. With the defense die, you're going to be able to negate up to 2 damage that you would have gotten otherwise. That are all the symbols. You are probably wondering, but with what do I move? Every symbol that you don't want to use for their specific task, you could use as movement. So if you are doing all of your things, you're just going to be putting them aside and saying, this is what I'm going to do with them. And the symbols that you maybe not want to use for that round because there is maybe nothing to melee attack or something like that, you can store in your reserve. You're then, if you accept, for example, maybe we want to get a ranged attack for next round, then you can put down the die here and you're going to replace it with one of these tokens to indicate that you have that for next round, and then just the dice are going to go to the next player so he or she can do his or her turn after that. If it is your turn again, you can choose to say, okay, I still want to use that. If you do so, you are going to be throwing one less die for everything you want to use in your reserve. And if you don't want to use it, you're just going to be throwing all of the die. I'm also quickly going to show you how the game overview tile looks. Here is the dial for the castle heart, with which you can indicate how much health you have left and how good the villagers are doing. This is the village morale. Most of the time this is going to start high, and with every villager that you kill it's going to go down, and there are some scenarios where I just want it to go to 0 and stuff happens. It's at a certain point when it goes down. Then we have the village event dial. Every time it's the villager's turn, this is going to go up, and depending on which number it is on, a village event is going to trigger, which is mostly bad stuff happening for you. The last thing that you see are these slots. Here there are going to be trap cards laid down, which I have here. And with these trap cards you can do cool stuff. So you have trap cards like these that you put down there, and with these trap cards you are going to be seeing how much what you have to spend to get them, in what kind of rooms you are able to use them, and for what kind of people, villagers, they are going to be able to attack. If all of the players have done their turn with throwing the dice and doing their stuff, the villagers are going to do their turn. And when the villagers do their turn, a number of things happen. Like I said, the village event goes forward by a certain amount depending on the scenario that you're going to play. And then all the villagers that are on the board are going to move, starting with the ones that are most in front of the game, that are nearest to the castle heart. All the villagers in a tile are first going to attack. So if it's only melee attackers, only peasants, nothing is going to happen, and they're just going to move one forward. The ranged attackers are going to do their ranged attack, and they're just going to all move forward. If you have activated all of the villagers on the board, you are going to spawn new villagers. For every spawn point that you have, you are going to be flipping one of these cards, which is going to indicate what kind of villager is going to spawn and how many villagers of that type are going to spawn. If you have done all this, then the new starting player is going to start their turn, and depending again on how many dice they have in reserve, they're going to throw the dice and play for the forward. The game is going to end when one of two things happens. The castle heart goes to 0 and the villagers win. No, or you get the objective that the scenario stated, in which case you are going to win. Yay! First of all, the artwork. I like the artwork. It really gives that gritty feeling of you fighting against all those villagers. The villagers also look kind of scary with their pitchforks, so you're certain that they're not the heroes in this game. The monsters, those are the persons that you are playing, and they are cool and strong, and the sculpts are pretty good. There are some different sculpts for the villagers, so you have some variety right there. All the town heroes have their own little sculpts, so that looks very good. Let me start by pointing out that the people that are going to be getting this as their Kickstarter game are going to absolutely love what they're going to get. this is going to be exactly what you're backed for. A tower defense kind of game where you are going to be the monsters and those villagers are going to be the bad guys in the story. But I did get the retail edition to review, so that is what I'm only going to be looking at. And then you do notice that some things just feel a little bit rushed. There are certain things in the rulebook that don't apply to the retail edition. So there's a large part of the rulebook that is about some expansions that you cannot really play. And at the beginning, you don't really notice this until you start to think like, oh, wait, I cannot play this. I need other stuff. Yeah, of course, it says expansions, this. But I think it would have been smarter to make 2 different kind of rule books, because now maybe if it isn't really true, you are going to have that feeling of missing out and not really having a full game, because they are just talking about all these expansion things. And if you would have just got rid of that, you wouldn't have been left with that feeling of missing out. There are also some rules that just don't really apply to the retail edition, like how there are going to be some restrictions for how you're going to build your team. For the people that got all of the expansions, they have a lot more monsters, so of course they have to keep track of certain of those restrictions. But in a retail edition, you only have 5 monsters, so those restrictions don't really apply to you. So it's these different rules that sometimes make it a little bit hard also to get through the rulebook, because you're going to be like, is this going to apply to me? Is this important? Yes, no. And that's just a shame, really. Also, there are some things in the rulebook that could have been, except for the obvious part that I just called out. There are expansions that you don't have, but there are also things that are not really that clear. And I thought if they would have taken a little bit more time to look at the rulebook, they could have gotten those things out. And that's just also a little bit the thing. You do notice that this is a Kickstarter game, that they also made a retail edition. And I think Kickstarter, if you're going to do this, Kickstarter publishers, really try to think of it as a separate product that you're going to be putting out on the market, and not just a toned down version of your Kickstarter. So I hear you thinking, Anna, it doesn't sound like you had any fun, but that is not true. I had a lot of fun playing this game. The concept is so neat, you being the monsters and killing all those villagers, and you really do feel like you are the hero of the story and the villagers are going to be the bad guys. The fact that you can level up your character is very cool and be even more efficient for every monster or for every villager that you kill. And the fact that you can save dice that you were not really going to use in your turn and keep them as defense. And the next round you can say, okay, I'm going to get rid of them and I'm going to throw whatever I'm going to throw. It is a very nice concept and I had a lot of fun playing the game. Another thing that I liked were the player boards. They were very organized and it was an easy way to see what you were all doing. The thing with the little chips that you had to take, that was a little bit getting used to, but when you were used to it, it was kind of okay. I do have to say, game developers never put something in your game where you have to flip a coin. Every time we just had to think like, okay, we have to flip a coin because there is a situation that the rules state that there is a tie. Who is going to attack us? Okay, flip a coin. What is the one side going to be? What's the other? It just took a little bit of the speed out of the game. I feel like the replayability is good. You have different scenarios and every scenario does feel like you're doing something else. They have a different objective. With some scenarios you have to steal people and kidnap them for your dinner, and with others it's just an onslaught of villagers trying to kill you and you're just going to try to survive. This gives a lot of replayability, of course, but also the fact that the town heroes are all different and give a different flavor to the game, and all the characters have unique player powers. Even three unique player powers is going to make every game a little bit different for you. You could go for just trying to make the best team possible for a certain scenario, or you could just try to play with the characters that are the most fun and try to make it a little bit more of a different and harder co-op experience. All in all, in conclusion, I had a lot of fun playing this game. The gameplay is excellent, the theming of it really fits the gameplay also, and the scenarios were fun to play. But in the end, it did leave me a little bit dissatisfied, and that was because of that rulebook that felt a little bit rushed, and the fact that it felt like a watered down version of the Kickstarter. So I would say, let's hope that they are going to make a second edition Kickstarter, and for now, just try to get all those different expansions, and that is going to be my opinion of Village Attacks, the retail edition.